Maybe tapping me at the moment.
Good body shot once again.
What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and today's video we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning tonight's light heavyweight title fight here in Sydney. It's an Australian light heavyweight title fight between two promising 26-year-old undefeated knockout artists. The Ant-Man, Tonga Tongotongo, takes on Kirra Ruston. Guys, before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, the YouTube analytics are telling me that 80% of you guys who are watching my content haven't hit subscribe yet. So could you do that for me right now, as well as like this video and hit the bell notification button. If you like my content, every time I create something new, you'll be notified. Thank you. Guys, if you're new to my channel and you love boxing, what I try to do here is give you fair, non-opinionated breakdowns on upcoming fights. I'll also give you my opinionated breakdown of prediction videos, and what I'm doing more and more is highlighting and featuring fights that are kind of either flying under the radar internationally or domestically here in Australia. And to do my part, I want to just not feature superstar fights. We do that as well, but I also want to talk about guys that are on their way up, prospects. And I've noticed on YouTube, a lot of channels don't do that. If you're passionate about the sport of boxing, all in all, not just the superstars, the guys you might not have heard of, you're in the right spot. So guys, when I did the last two feature videos for this Australian boxing card tonight in Sydney, headlined by Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis, I was getting messages about other fights on the lineup. Yesterday, I released a feature fight between Matteo Tapia and the Russian Sergey Vorobyev. I got reminded about the pay-per-view price. Guys, if you're American or wherever you're tuning in from, if you didn't know, we're kind of in a monopoly down here as fans, with our hands handcuffed by one huge boxing promotion that's called No Limit Promotions. So they're the company who sponsors and puts on and promotes Tim Tszyu fights. So whenever there's a pay-per-view card that internationally you guys have to pay for, wherever you're living outside of Australia, we as locals have to pay $70 to $80 for an event, even though we're watching our local fighters. To put things in perspective, I could go to Horton tonight, Sydney, which is literally 7 miles from my house, and pay $70 at the door and watch it live, or I could sit here in my living room and pay for it $70. So with that information in mind, a friend of mine who born and raised in Australia, he's been linked with the best boxers coming out of Australia for the last 10 years. He messages me and he goes, "Hey Johnny, with prices like the way they are, this is the fight on the fight card that if you're gonna pay for, this is the one to watch." And he was talking about Tonga Tongotongo versus Kirra Ruston. So I've done my due diligence. In this video, we want to talk about both fighters, give them a little bit of shine before they fight tonight, and educate the boxing public. I've educated myself on who they are. Tonga Tongotongo, they call him the Ant-Man. This guy had a storied rugby career. When you Google him, you're gonna find a lot of rugby content, a lot of videos of him destroying people on the rugby pitch. And there's an article behind a paywall that talks about the boxer who was too rough to play rugby. And that's who this guy is. At 26 years old, he's already ranked in the top 50 in the world at light heavyweights. He only has 9 fights. And of those 9 fights, he's undefeated with 9 knockouts. A little bit short for the light heavyweight division, but that power, we know, is a great equalizer. When I look at his build and I look at his style, it's hard to not think about David Tua. For however unfair comparisons that is to the young Tonga Tongo, I'm sure that he would be happy for me to say that. Now, when you think about Kirra Ruston, when you do your due diligence, storied amateur career. In Australian amateur boxing, he has close to 60 amateur fights. So when he turned pro, the media knew about it. When you look at the guy, he comes from a good fight camp. He comes from a good pedigree, and his style is electric. He just fought 11 days ago. So that's going to be a narrative of this fight. He took this fight on short notice. He is the slight favorite. So when you put two young guys, 26 years old, who are both coming up in the division, who are fighting already, this is sort of the majesty of Australian boxing, because there's not a lot of people here. So it's what I was telling people when we were featuring Tim Tszyu before he fought Seb Fundora. To make it out of Australia, there's a lot of guys like Tszyu that you guys might not ever heard of who don't get to make it out. A, because maybe they don't have the promotions. B, they don't have the opportunity to go stateside. Or C, which I think is more relevant, there's a pool of other fighters that they have to fight, and a lot of them are good, and they kind of eat their own. So before they make it out of Australia, they might already have a couple losses. So this is why we're seeing this fight already. 26-26, 9 pro fights, 4 pro fights for the Australian vacant light heavyweight title. I just heard about this fight last night, and I'm already excited about it. Now let's take a closer look at Kirra Ruston and see what he's been up to in his short career. Guys, Kirra Ruston's 4-0 with 4 knockouts. Out of 1,783 light heavyweights in the world, he's ranked 148, and out of 56 in Australia, he's ranked number 9. He only has 5 pro rounds. He likes to do his work really quickly. The 26-year-old Aussie is a 6-foot standing orthodox fighter. We last saw him fight Muhammad Nafiz 11 days ago. 1-1 knockout in the first. Braden Nalahar, knockout in the second. Paulo Radamacoro, knockout in the first. Etienne 2-0, knockout in the first. So as you see his style, if you go to his Instagram, watch his highlight videos, he has skills to go to the body, and he has skills to knock you out up top. That really shows his amateur pedigree. He's very disciplined in punching on 3 different levels, waistline up. You see a lot of young guys who are knockout artists. You see a lot of young guys who just headhunt. That's not who this guy is. If you get caught with your guard too high, he's gonna bring those arms down by ripping the body, and you see that in one of his latest fights, a gorgeous, brutal knockout body rip. Now let's take a closer look at his opponent, the Ant-Man, Tonga Tongotongo. Guys, Tonga Tongo's 9-0 with 9 knockouts. He's currently ranked number 50 in the world out of 1,783 light heavyweights, and number 3 in Australia out of 56 light heavyweights. He has a total of 32 rounds out of his 9 pro fights, so a little under 4 rounds a fight. He carries also a 100% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans call him Mr. Ant-Man, and the 26-year-old Australian is an orthodox fighter. He was born in Mandurah, New Zealand. We last saw him fight Sebastian Singh, 15-7, knockout in the 7th. Max Reeves, 9-0, knockout in the 6th. Tyson Turner, 7-1, knockout in the 5th. Felipehi, knockout in the 3rd. Guys, if you've never watched domestic Australian fights before, don't expect a feeling out process. That's why this fight is exciting. When we look at Las Vegas and the bettors, even though this fight only was signed 11 days ago, we still are allowed to bet on it. Sometimes that's not always the case. So the odds right now have Tonga Tongo as a slight underdog. So let's take a closer look at those odds and see some of those prop bets. Guys, if you take Tonga Tongo on the money line to win, $100 gets you 285 back. If you take Ruston on the money line to win, 100 gets you $49 back. So method of victory is kind of like how I like to bet on these boxers, especially if I'm not going to money line and just put them on a parlay. If you put 100 on Tonga Tongo to win a points or decision, you get 800 back. Tonga to win by knockout, you get close to 400 back. A draw, 17-1. Ruston to win by points or decision, 4-1 back, so 100 gets you 400. Ruston to win by knockout, 2-1 back, so 100 gets you 200. So when you look at these odds, points on either guy, nobody's picking that. It's either guy to win by knockout. So the odds makers are saying Tonga to win by knockout, 4-1. Ruston to win by knockout, 2-1. I don't mind the money line if you're going to put it on a parlay. If you like the favorite, if you like the amateur pedigree of Kirra Ruston, throw him on a parlay with some other guys on this card. Like we talked about last week and throughout fight week, you could take, I'm not telling you who to take, but you could do things like put Keith Thurman on there to win. He's a 3-1 favorite. Take Mateo Tapia to win. He's a 5-1 favorite. Or the Tapia fight to go the distance, that brings you to 2-1, and then pick Ruston to just win on the money line, 149. But if you're feeling froggy, pick the knockout either side. 100 will quadruple your money on the Tonga Tongo side, and 100 will double your money on the Ruston side. When you look at these guys side by side, the thing that jumps out is the height difference and the reach difference. So if you look at the highlight tape of Ruston, even though it's short and sweet, he does know how to use his jab to create that range, and he's beautiful at entering and exiting the pocket, knowing where he's safe from getting countered and knowing where he could do damage. And he loves putting his opponent up against the ropes and using that long jab of his and then sitting down on his backhand. But like I said earlier, he will also go to the body. It's going to be interesting to see how much pressure Tonga Tongo allows Ruston to put against him and who takes takes control of the center of the ring. I think that's going to be the story, and I think we're going to know really quickly and really early. It's a 10-round fight. All I'm going to tell you, out of my respect for both young guys, I'm not going to give you my prediction on who's going to win, but I will predict this, and maybe this is the easy way out. I don't predict it going 10 rounds. So in the comment section below, let me know if you're watching this fight. Let me know who you like in this fight. And on the whole fight card, if you haven't watched my breakdowns of the Thurman Jarvis or the Mateo Tapia versus the Russian Jake Paul, and you want to know more about those fights, stay tuned because it's coming up right now.